Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. What would happen if hackers found a way to exploit the XRP ledger and create brand new XRP? What would happen? Well, this is a reality for a different cryptocurrency, Binance's coin BNB, which is their ticker symbol. A whole bunch of brand new Binance coins were created due to an exploit. It was a technological oversight, and so you could call it a hack, you can call it an exploit. I've seen it called both. Whatever your word of choice is, the end result is potentially devastating for any cryptocurrency, especially if it's not something that can get patched. So, kind of begs the question, like, so what happened specifically here? I'll certainly touch on that, but could this happen to XRP and the XRP ledger? And if not, why not? And on this topic, I actually was curious. And so I posed a question to a number within the community, including Ripple CTO and co-creator of XRP and the XRP ledger, David Schwartz. And David Schwartz actually was kind enough to respond to me, and I want to share with you in this latest Moon Lambeau Hot Jam what he had to say. But before going any further, I do want to be clear that I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so there are all sorts of articles with headlines along lines of this, like from the Daily Hodl, which reads as follows: Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao speaks on state of Binance Smart Chain after $564 million cross-bridge exploit. Whew, that's not exactly ideal. Here's one from TechCrunch. Binance hit by $100 million blockchain bridge hack. And I actually do want to run through part of this article because, and you could be wondering, like, where are the different numbers coming in? Well, they do explain it. So there were ultimately $500 million plus worth of new coins created, but it's more like, how many were they actually to move? Because before the chain was halted, because the chain was ultimately halted after, the severity of this mishap, if you will, was discovered. So the either hackers or individuals who are, exploiting the system, whatever you want to call them, you have to imagine that their entire intent was to get this done quickly and get as much of these new coins that they shouldn't have because they shouldn't exist off the chain and get it converted either to another cryptocurrency or out to fiat currency as quickly as possible before anybody wises up to what's going on here. So anyway, the TechCrunch piece reads as follows. Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, confirmed Thursday that hackers made off with at least $100 million, but that the figure could have been significantly more. The Binance blockchain, also known as BNB chain and Binance Smart Chain, took the rare step of suspending transactions and fund transfers after discovering a vulnerability affecting the BSC Token Hub cross-chain bridge. These bridges are designed to facilitate the transfer of assets from one independent blockchain to another. The vulnerability in the BSC Token Hub bridge allowed the attacker to forge messages, enabling them to mint new BNB tokens. Since the stolen tokens were not pre-existing tokens taken from wallets, no user funds were impacted. And so I'll just pause to note, I'll claim complete ignorance on BNB. I've never held BNB. I've done very minimal research, and when I did research it, it was literally years ago. So again, never held BNB. And there's about 20,000 different cryptocurrencies, so I don't know anything about most of them, just like every other human on the planet here. So I didn't realize that it was a situation where it was set up where the BNB chain actually was designed to live on multiple blockchains. It's not something that the typical person would know. It's not something I knew. I don't really care about BNB. Nothing against it. I know it's one of the largest market cap coins on the entire planet. It's behind, throughout the, of course, stable coins, it's behind Ethereum and Bitcoin only. But it's just not a part of my life personally. But check this out. In a blog post on Friday, the BNB chain team said that a total of 2 million BNB, worth approximately $568 million, were initially withdrawn by the hacker. But blockchain security company Slomis says the attacker only managed to take about $110 million because the majority of the stolen tokens, worth about $430 million, couldn't be transferred following the suspension of the BNB chain. Binance chief executive CZ said in a tweet that the company estimates the impact of the breach to be between $100 million to $110 million. And then he said, this is a quote from CZ, The issue is contained now. Your funds are safe. We apologize for the inconvenience and will provide further updates accordingly. So I'm going to assume eventually whoever did this is going to get found out and they're going to be in serious legal trouble, maybe go to jail for decades. These people frequently get caught. Maybe not. Maybe they'll be lucky and they won't get caught. But it very frequently anyway, it does not pay to be a complete D-bag of a human. But the good news is it wasn't user funds. So like individual wallets, there's no exploit there. It's just that new BNB was created. So could something like this happen with XRP and the XRP ledger? Well, obviously my understanding was always no, but as to why, it's because there's something called an invariant check, and I was aware of this dating back to either late 2017 or early 2018. When I was learning more about the XRP ledger and the technology that comprises it. And there's basically, so once the communication goes through on the ledger, I'm just kind of dumbing this down effectively, but once the transaction information goes through, there's a second layer of that has to be completed on the XRP ledger in order for the transaction to actually truly finalize. And it's called an invariant check. And one of the things that the check goes through is to make sure that no new XRP was created. If they do find that new XRP was created, the transaction fails, and the net result of that is that no new XRP was created. So basically, it would just be an attempt. So if somebody attempts to do that, it is a requirement for every single transaction period. The invariant check must make sure. And so I was sitting here wondering, does BNB have something like that? Because why would they not? It seems so obvious to have something like that. And if they did have it, and if it did fail, does that mean it could fail for XRP and the XRP ledger? And if BNB didn't have something like that, why the hell not? And so I asked the following question, and I tagged David Schwartz along with some others within the community. And I simply wrote, and this is from this morning, I wrote, since new BNB coins were created via an exploit or hack, I'm assuming the blockchain does not have invariant checking like XRP does, ? Which is why my voice goes up like this with the inflection. And thankfully, David Schwartz was kind enough to take some time out of his day to answer me. And so thank you very much, David Schwartz. And he shared the following information on this. He wrote, and I'll share with you more on invariant checking in just a minute, but let me share with you first what David Schwartz said. Invariant checking would catch an attempt to create more XRP on the XRP ledger because it's a core XRP ledger invariant that XRP cannot be created. But it's not a BSC invariant that more BNB cannot be created. So let's just pause the thing. He's saying right there is no invariant check like we have on the XRP ledger to check that. And of course, I understand now we're talking about two different chains, and I didn't initially realize that because again, I hadn't looked thoroughly into BNB. It's not something I was ever seriously considering purchasing. I'm not against it at all. I just happened to not. And then David Schwartz also wrote, because again, he just stated, hey, there's no invariant check like you have on the XRP ledger to prevent the creation of new XRP. There's nothing like that with BNB. And then he says, that might first seem awful, but it makes sense. BSC is just one chain BNB lives on, and BNB can move onto BSC from its home chain. So whether or not invariant checking would have caught this would depend on details of the exploit. There's a good chance it would not have. And so that was his tweet. And so it seems like it's just a much more complex technological feat when you're talking about moving from one chain to another, because XRP only lives on the XRP ledger. It will never be on another chain. You can have a representation of XRP on a different chain, but XRP itself is only on the XRP ledger, and it will never cease to be on the XRP ledger. Just like Bitcoin is only on the Bitcoin blockchain. And so that's why when people say XRP ledger is the best way to move Bitcoin, well, I know what they mean by that. It's fine to say that. But what they actually mean is that you can have a tokenized version of Bitcoin represented on the XRP ledger, which has a built-in decentralized exchange. And then, of course, there's counterparty risk for that. But it's a representation of it. But you can complete flows just utilizing that. And, Spin the Bits is doing that. The Canadian firm Spin the Bits. A guy named Jay created it. Attorney John Deaton talks about it all the time. Because the XRP ledger is a better way to move Bitcoin than Lightning Network. So there you are. And so I responded to David Schwartz and I wrote, thank you for clarifying. I didn't really know much about how BNB was structured, in particular BNB living on multiple chains, which is not the case for XRP, of course. So this makes a lot more sense now. And then somebody else who named, it was a Flare.money, wrote to David Schwartz and said in the same thread, would moving assets like BSC to, let's say, the Flare ecosystem help prevent this exploit from happening again? And David Schwartz responded to that as well. And he said, I'm pretty sure this exact exploit will never happen again. There's always a risk that someone will find a similar exploit for the Flare ecosystem. Building secure bridges is actually really hard without a single trusted counterparty to operate the bridge. So as far as invariant checking, just a few more things on that, and this is from xrpl.org. For any of you that are curious about it, stick around. But check this out. Invariant checking is a safety feature on the XRP ledger. It consists of a set of checks separate from normal transaction processing that guarantee that certain invariants hold true across all transactions. Like many safety features, we all hope that invariant checking never actually needs to do anything. However, it can be useful to understand the XRP ledger's invariants because they define hard limits on the XRP ledger's transaction processing and to recognize the problem in the unlikely event that a transaction fails because it violated an invariant check. Invariants should not trigger, but they ensure the XRP ledger's integrity from bugs yet to be discovered or even created. So there you go. It's an extra layer of protection. And as far as why it exists, there's another section here. The source code for the XRP ledger is complicated and vast. There is a high potential for code to execute incorrectly. The cost of incorrectly executing a transaction is high and not acceptable by any standards. Specifically, incorrect transaction executions could create invalid or corrupt data that later consistently crashes servers in the network by sending them into an impossible state, which could halt the entire network. The processing of incorrect transaction would undermine the value of trust in the XRP ledger. Invariant checking provides value to the entire XRP ledger because it adds the feature of reliability. And so there you go. It's not something that we should have to worry about as XRP holders. And unfortunately for BNB, this isn't something that was there, but it's a much more complicated ecosystem. So hope nothing like this can happen with Flare. So we'll see how that works. Here's a list of active invariants that are checked on every single transaction, including that. Make sure XRP is not created. I'm not going to read them all, but for those of you that want to pause and take a look, this is the list of what the XRP ledger is actually going through. And so no new XRP is ever going to be created. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.